supposed to happen. I told you that was
Oh, that.
Yeah.
Oh, that looks like it
It's
belongs there.
More technical difficulties.
Roll with it, and it's part of your presentation.
They're trying to sell you a PC cleaner.
Alright, back to the presentation. Alright, so SWOT obviously stands for Strengths, Weaknesses, Opportunities, and Threats. So as of now, we're going to present to you a couple of our strengths about our lounge spaces here at the Student Recreation Center. So what do these spaces do well? They're obviously accessible. You can find them anywhere in the building. They serve their immediate purpose. Obviously, you want to go take a little break, sit down, check your phone, anything of that nature. You can use the lounge spaces. And they're pretty often utilized. Obviously, being in the summer, we don't really get a firsthand notion of how frequently they're utilized. But after talking to a couple staff members during the semester, terms, people do use them. It's just a little bit more difficult to gauge being in the summer term.
Some of the weaknesses of the lounges are they're not easy to identify. They're not spacious enough, not big enough, and they're not isolated. Like they're typically in loud areas.
Some opportunities that we came up with. Obviously, it's a very broad thing to be talking about a lounge space. You could put them anywhere in the building if you really wanted to, but how can you give them enough space to make them relevant? So obviously you can see there's a lot of movable space. Now with the Olympic trials coming on, you can see how quickly Nike was able to move around the equipment and utilize those free spaces just to be able to make something more adaptable. So that's something that we really looked into, and the budget to work with, money's obviously doesn't grow on trees, but when you want to get things done, you're going to have to spend a couple bucks just to make things better for your students, better for your staff, and all in all, kind of reach out to your environment a little bit better.
So some of the threats for the lounges are the possibility of gunmen or somebody coming in to rob the place, and also the new student union, because it is the newest building on campus, and I think it was kind of built when it opened when all the students were leaving. So when they come back, that's going to be like the new building that most of the students haven't seen yet.
Right, so what are the things we can do now to improve these lounge spaces?
So charging stations, of course, these are charging stations that you can mount to the tables. They're easily accessible. You can plug in whatever phone, laptop, whatever you want to use. Also, you can talk to other people about corporate sponsors, so you don't even have to pay for them yourself. Like the EMU has US Bank, they have a charging station there that they sponsored and put there, and they have the old logo along with the US Bank on it, and the EMU didn't even have to pay for it. So that's kind of similar to the next slide also. This is just another form where this is a stand-up station, you can put your logos in the back or any of that.
So, this is like one of the first things that we approached coming into this presentation. We did, however, talk to Al, and Al had mentioned that a company called ChargeTech had reached out to him several times, a couple emails here and there, wanting the building to install these, kind of promote themselves, as well as Oregon as a whole, kind of slap a logo on there, kind of promote the brand a little bit more than just seeing that. All right, so one of the other things we talked about, including just a little bit of food for thought, maybe get a little bit of reading, something that puts you in that fitness mindset. So we did look up some of the more feasible options. A little subscription to Men's Health and Women's Health, very cheap. Something you could put in those lounge areas, give something for people to read, in their free time. Some people might not enjoy reading, but some people might enjoy reading a little bit more than others. So having that there and making it available might give somebody more for recreational reading for leisure in terms of when they come and sit and use those lounge spaces.
Additional possibilities would be upgrading Old Town, upgrading Old Town by painting the walls or putting old marketing over there. So applying the O on the Old Town side, because it's really bland. We've had students tell us that it feels kind of scary to go back there, or when you're back there, it feels like you don't belong there, like you're in trouble being back there. So maybe putting some paint up and some marketing just to give it a new feeling, give it a feeling of a welcoming that you can come back there.
Some life, maybe call it Newtown. So what are other schools doing? I'd reach out to a couple universities, facilities coordinators, directors, and kind of try to gauge what some of the bigger rec centers throughout the country are doing. facilities. It's one of the schools that I had talked to was the University of Cincinnati and what they do there. Their spaces are actually pretty similar in terms of like furniture and the way they use their spaces, but they do have a secluded area for that lounge. However, it did used to be occupied by a smoothie bar and has since closed. So, I mean, it's been converted to an open seating area, and the only reason I wanted to make sure I talked about that was because of that closed environment. It might take them away from the sound, give them a little bit of that seclusion somebody might want when they're studying, reading, or anything of that nature. James Madison University in Virginia. They actually have one of the more unique facilities because they do have an atrium, which is like a open top ceiling, however you want to describe it. It's a little bit smaller, but they do have 8 to 10 tables, 4 chairs at each, which still does give them an area to meet with like friends, complete homework, socialize, and it's probably one of the more heavily used areas in that facility that isn't like the fitness equipment. And lastly, who we just got in contact with was the University of Iowa. They have a power cafe there, and it's like a free zone for TV and relaxation. Definitely one of the larger lounges that they have. They also utilize the idea of renting it out to other people for birthday parties and swim meets, other ways of gaining revenue by other than just lending it to students to use. So that area is more utilized for watching TV, eating, waiting for friends, and they also do one of the things that I like is that they offer table and chair massages, which happen to be the most popular thing among students and staff. So now, how can we bring the foot traffic back into Old Town?
So we wanted to hit the broad definition of recreation. Our recreation center, Oregon's Recreation Center, does a really good job of hitting the fitness part of getting people active and moving, but recreation has such a broad definition, and we want to try in the rec center to hit every form of recreation, rather that's just leisurely playing with your friends or coming over, because recreation is pretty much anything you do that you enjoy.
So how can we accommodate a holistic experience of health and wellness? Emphasis on holistic. So converting the racquetball courts. Obviously, we have some past successes here with the Fitness Factory, the boxing arena, which, I mean, from what we've heard in our facilities tour, that there is talk about expanding on that. So that leads us to believe it can be done again.
So why the racquetball courts? Because we got some numbers on the racquetball courts. From September to December, they were only used about 1,000 times. And if you break that down, it averages out to about 10, 11 times a day. For a facility this size, only 10, 11 times a day, somebody touching isn't that much. So we can better use the racquetball courts for a better purpose, like a recreation room or a quiet room or something like that, to just convert them into lounge so they get more foot traffic into Old Town, and that they're used more. Like our recreation lounge, so we can convert it into something that, like you said, we can hit another form of recreation, so people aren't just coming to just work out and then they leave. They can come work out and then head to a lounge where they can sit down with their friends, maybe play some ping pong or so forth, just off in the back of Old Town, just also to bring more traffic into Old Town.
Actually, just this morning, I was talking to one of the employees here, Rush, and he was mentioning how, when you look where the ping pong tables are, it also looks like you're not supposed to be there. It looks like that should be leading to some closets. And he's like, honestly, if you didn't go back there to use the bathrooms, how frequently would you know that there's ping pong tables back there and other games to be utilized? So moving this stuff to a more enclosed facility, something that gives it a purpose, it kind of would probably bring more foot traffic into the back end of Old Town, give that space more meaning, and that way it's just not empty space. One of the things that we came up with was a quiet room that we refer to as the duck pond. Obviously, think about a duck pond, it's a little bit more serene and a little quiet area. So we wanted to hit a different form of recreation by including these Metro napping pods. So they do run about $13,000 each on however we didn't talk about installation and things of that nature. But they are comparable to pre-court treadmills, which the top of the line varies between $5,000 to $8,000, and that is Cody's thumb. He said that he gave me a direct picture from earlier this morning that he pays about $7,350,000 over to accommodate some of these. So if you buy 2 of these, it's basically like installing 2 treadmills and getting one of these napping pods. So if you were to kind of make that comparison, playing with numbers a little bit, I believe it's a very a feasible option for the near future. Some other schools that do utilize these are Wesleyan University, Stanford Grad School, UC San Fran, Carnegie Mellon, and the U, University of Miami. Oh, and CSUN. I forgot. Sorry. So, I mean, I just kind of did a little bit quick Photoshop, add the L on top of there. Maybe get 4 to 5 of them, quiet room, insulate the area a little bit. Just gives, like I said, trying to capture that holistic aspect of recreation. So in conclusion, short term, we wanted to make sure that, the charging stations, I think, as the other group had mentioned, is super important. It might bring a little bit more traffic to those areas. Magazines, in case anybody wants to read. Painting and bring Old Town, life back into Old Town, kind of like you said. You want it to be somewhere that's inviting, not turn around and go back.
And some of the long-term goals would be converting those racquetball courts into recreational rooms or into the duck pond, maybe a quiet oasis for students to go and just take a nap or hit the mental health part of recreation.
Questions? Brian?